In this short video, I'm going to show you how to write, format and structure both a formal and an informal letter in English. Let's go. What do I mean by formal and informal? Well, we use a formal style when writing to people we don't know or who are senior to us, like your boss, for example. It's just a way of writing that is polite and shows respect. We might also use this style when we're writing letters of complaint or we're asking somebody for information. And we use informal when we're talking to people that we personally know, like friends or family. Formal letters should be planned first. We need to make sure that we write everything we need to explain the situation and make our intentions clear. But it's not a test of our English, so keep it simple is a good choice. A handy way to remember how to organise your paragraphs is to use a mnemonic like the one shown on screen, which helps to structure your letter correctly. This mnemonic not only helps us know what information we want in our paragraphs, but also in which order to place those paragraphs. And it simply stands for situation, complication, result, action, politeness. So S stands for situation. Explain why you're writing. What happened? What do you want? Get straight to the point is the best choice here. Our second paragraph, complication, should explain what this situation in the first paragraph caused to happen. Our third paragraph should explain what the result was of these situations happening together. Our fourth paragraph should describe what action we want to happen after someone has read our letter. And finally, we have politeness, not only using the correct names, etc., but thank the reader for their attention to dealing with your matter. Well, if you've got all that, you're ready to move on to the next step. Have a quick look at this letter. See if you can spot how it's been organised, in which order the paragraphs have been written. Pause the video here and read the letter. Work out what the letter is about. How did you get on? Why is she writing to her bank manager? You'll see that there are a few pleasantries in this letter. There's no writing about other topics like the weather or how things are going in day-to-day life. Its style is very direct. Remember, business people are busy, or they should be. Now let's examine this letter in more detail and see what tips we can pick up. The first thing to note is that we've written the address that the letter has been sent from and who it's being addressed to at the top of the page. Note here that since I don't actually know the name of my bank manager yet, I've simply addressed my letter to the person who is in charge at my bank branch, the manager. Next comes the date we wrote the letter. This can be very important, especially if you're dealing with deadlines. Here you should also note that some countries write the date as day, month, year, while others use month, day, year. Whichever way you write it, just be sure that it can be easily understood. Company letters may also include a letter reference. This is normally just to help with their filing. If you are replying to an account query or something that is referenced to the company, be sure to include that reference number and quote it in your reply so that your response can be filed correctly. Now we have the body of our letter, the meat, the real reason we're writing, which is where we used our mnemonic to structure our letter. Finally, at the bottom of the letter, leave space for a handwritten signature, but print your name underneath, just so there's no mistake about who is writing this letter. Greetings and salutations. How should I start my letter, and how do I address you? Well, we've got many choices here. If I know this person well, then I can start with dear and their name, and end with yours sincerely. Even then, if it was a professional formal letter written to somebody working for a company, I would still advise using the Mr. before their surname, even if I did know their first name. So only use somebody's first name if the letter is informal and to personal friends or family. So if we start Dear Sir, we need to end with yours faithfully. If we start with somebody's name, which means we know them, then you can finish your letter yours sincerely. Here I've given you some of the common greetings that we use, the titles when we're writing a letter. So you'll see MR for Mr. and MRS for Mrs., a married woman. If you're unmarried, then it should be Miss, or more politically correct in this day and age is Ms, M and a small s, which is used to address women who could be married, but you're not sure if they are or not. And here I've given you some abbreviations for titles, the most common one of which is probably DR for doctor, although you could come across Prof for professor. So what do we do if we're writing to a company or organisation and we don't know the name of the person we need to write to? Well, in this case we can simply say Sir or Madam, since we don't know either whether it's a man or a woman. So our letter starts Dear Sir or Madam, comma, and then we go into the body of our letter. Now if you're writing to a company or organisation, you can simply pluralise the Sir to Sirs. Just a few more words about the correct way to address people when writing. In English, we write our full name as given name first, middle name if you have one, not everybody does, followed by the family name. In a formal situation, we use the title, Mr., Mrs. or Miss, followed by the family name. So in my case, that would be Mr. Seaton, or even Mr. Colin Seaton, or maybe just the initials, Mr. C.D. Seaton, but never just Mr. Colin. There might be more than one person in the organisation or office whose first name is Colin. Here are some quick tips to help you write the best letter possible. Always check your spelling. Use short sentences and simple words if they're clearer. Don't forget to write in proper paragraphs. And do read your finished letter for mistakes before you send it. And here are my list of nevers. Never use slang. Don't use jargon just because you know it, maybe somebody else doesn't. And never try to make jokes or be funny. It doesn't work in a business sense. Now let's try putting everything we now know into practice. Here's a simple exercise for you. You bought a second-hand car for £700. It had only been running for a week when the engine broke down. The garage says that it will cost over £400 to repair. You're angry. Now write 3 letters. The first is to the garage where you bought the car. You want your money back. This car was definitely no good. The second is to your solicitor. You're not sure what to do if the garage doesn't give you your money back, and you want his advice. And third and lastly, you need to write to your friend. You were going to come and visit them, but now you've got no car. Explain what has happened and that you can't come and visit as planned. Well, that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope you found that useful, and I look forward to seeing examples of your letters.